Words cannot describe the importance of history. Everything we have accomplished, all our ideals and mistakes, worst sins and best virtues are painted upon the canvas of history. Historical discoveries allow us the chance to analyse and discover what life for our ancestors was like, and to increase our understanding of our own existence. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at 3 recent historical discoveries. Medieval skeleton pulled from Thames, still wearing thigh-high leather boots. London's River Thames has been a staple landmark of England for centuries, but the river holds countless secrets, including the remains of a skeleton from 5 centuries ago. The bones were found during a Thames excavation project called the Thames Tideway Tunnel, meant to divert sewage from the river. This skeleton is not the only one found deep beneath the Thames, as people have settled around it for millennia. It is bound to have its own rich history hidden in the soil of its riverbank and bed. The skeleton had its face down and one arm up, and on his corpse was a pair of thigh-high riding boots, whose condition was only partially rotted. Beth Richardson, who works at the Museum of London Archaeology, commented on this finding. It's extremely rare to find any boots from the late 15th century, let alone a skeleton still wearing them. It might seem like boots are nothing special in the world of archaeology, but the discovery has undoubtedly shaken a plethora of archaeologists. This is because, as Richardson stated, the find is extremely rare. Of all past relics, boots and other such clothing items never survive long enough to be found and analysed by researchers. In the words of La Trobe's University of Melbourne's dress historian Hilary Davidson, historic clothing mostly survives accidentally, and the further back in time, the less there is. The majority of survivals are therefore elite or special garments that are exceptional compared with what the majority of people would have worn. Clothing is not just made to last for centuries. Having said that, when it is found, clothing from the past gives amazing insight into the individuals wearing them and the time period they passed away in. For this resident skeleton, his position and the fact he still had the boots on him suggests that he was a person of relative but not immense wealth. The boots were stitched together with flax thread and were of sound quality with reinforced soles. However, the style of the boot was unpopular during the time of his departure from life. These were unmistakably 14th or 15th century working boots. The man seems to have been a river fisherman and thus would have worn these boots to keep his legs from becoming wet. Furthermore, his skeletal remains showed his teeth were worn, as a sailor or fisherman's might be after years of running ropes through their mouths when tying ships to docks. Unfortunately, it is speculated that he had a sorrowful end to his life, as the boots would have likely been removed had he been buried by his family, as leather was valued at this time and often taken to be reused, thus suggesting the man was at the oldest in his mid-30s, perished in the midst of his work, be it from drowning or falling. Leather is significantly more durable than other fabrics, hence its survival in the mud of the Thames all these years. As more research is being conducted on the boots, we may receive further insight into the man and his life from 500 years ago. Human skeleton discovered at Antikythera shipwreck. The lands of Greece are mystical, with millennia of extraordinary myths and legends, with rich, abundant histories and some of the most stunning landscapes on the planet. Antikythera is one such Greek island, and about 10 minutes away from it lies a shipwreck from 2,000 years ago. The shipwreck was initially found in 1900 and was one of the very first shipwrecks to ever be examined with the use of archaeology. The phrase Antikythera mechanism might ring a bell for some. The Antikythera mechanism is a clock found within the wreck, a deeply complex and unexpected clock for the era, with painted movements of the stars, planets, moon and sun, otherwise described as the first analog computer. Last summer, archaeologists uncovered a human skeleton buried underneath an array of pottery shards. Hannes Schroeder from the Danish Natural History Museum in Copenhagen was summoned to analyse the skeleton and see if it was possible for genetic matter to be taken from the remains and examined further. The possibility was minimal. But despite his doubts, Schroeder agreed, especially once he saw the well-preserved bones. They were described as chalky but in excellent condition for analysis, and Schroeder himself commented that they did not appear to be 2,000 years old. The bone analysis was permitted by the Greek government, although the analysis and seeing whether the DNA samples will be conclusive will take many months to sequence. Hopefully, the results will give historians increased insight into what life was like for people alive thousands of years ago and might even uncover the identity of the mysterious skeleton. This opportunity is great for Schroeder especially, who has been gifted this rare chance to try and make a breakthrough in ancient DNA research. He could very well be a pioneer of this branch of archaeology. Shipwrecked bodies typically end up swept up by the water and are fast to decay. So unless the bodies are hidden beneath layers of sediment, they tend to rot and fade into oblivion. As such, this skeleton is a rare, exciting find for all researchers in the field. Underwater skeletons are more rare the further we go back, so finding one from 2,000 years ago is an extraordinary feat. A myriad of treasures were discovered alongside the skeleton by the deep diving team which discovered the remains in the first place. Relics such as ancient wine jars, glassware, bronze spears, gold jewellery, and various other valuables. The skull of the skeleton has 3 teeth, a partial skull, pieces of its ribs, 2 femurs, and arm bones. It is plausible to consider the possibility of there being more bones buried deep beneath the sand nearby the shipwreck, and currently underwater archaeologists are planning on sending diving teams to explore the ship's surroundings in hopes of uncovering even more. Historians find Henry V warship buried in Hampshire, England. England has a vast naval history with a plethora of famous ships that have brought the nation many victories in maritime affairs, and without a doubt, one of those ships was the Holocaust, known today as the Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost served under the reign of King Henry V. Ian Friel, a British historian, has discovered where the Ship of Legends was buried in Southampton, Hampshire. There is a 30-metre stretch of the River Hamble. It is beneath the mud and muck that the Holy Ghost lies. The ship could hold 750 tons of weapons, men, cargo and equipment, and was made to support a crew of 200 men, though her dimensions are only speculated on as of now to be somewhere between 30 and 40 metres long. The Holy Ghost is also the first known ship to have been repaired with the use of a diver, a certain man recorded in history books as Davy Owen. Governmental plans have been set in motion to reveal and survey the ship using sonar-based sub-bottom X-rays to detect the ship's measurements, state of disrepair, and contents. Furthermore, this sonar-based technology should be able to create an accurate digital version of what the ship would have looked like in its prime. Henry V was the first English king to form a true maritime force in England, and as such this finding celebrates the humble beginnings of the country's naval successes, with historians and navy enthusiasts alike excited by the prospect of uncovering the ship's many secrets. It took Dr. Friel decades to hunt down the Holy Ghost, as he had suspected its whereabouts back in the 1980s, but back then he lacked the adequate evidence to prove it. The ship's importance historically aligns with Henry's rise to power and his political ascension, and the effect religion had on England. Un sans plus was written upon the ship, meaning one and no more. This was one of Henry's allegedly beloved sayings, symbolizing his religious belief in the concept of divine rights of kings. In other words, he believed he was chosen by God and his word was gospel as England's master. It makes sense, as it was during this era that the divine right of kings began to spread in Catholic nations. If archaeologists' initial guesses are correct, then the Holy Ghost should be one of the best preserved lost ships in English history, more so than the Holy Ghost's sister ship, the Grace Dieu, which was found years prior. Both ships met their unfortunate ends after military exploits, as the Holy Ghost was subsequently abandoned at the River Hamble, where it remained for nearly 6 whole centuries, forlorn and forgotten until now. The smallest discoveries bring a plethora of new information about what lives those people led. History allows us to peek into personal lives, of those long deceased. But what do you make of these interesting discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.